Oh, hi. Welcome. It is Club Call.
It is indeed. It is Wednesday night, and that means our wonderful viewers, Premier members, and channel members as well.
Of course, on YouTube.
Have the opportunity to call in.
No, tonight does generally feel like the last little bit of daylight we're going to get. I mean, the weather outside is frightening. Quite literally frightening.
I thought you were going to break into song.
No, well, I set it up like... I was going to set it up, but it's far too early for that kind of hijinks at the moment.
Yeah.
We haven't got it. We're still in spooky season, which apparently has become a thing. People dressing their houses. There's one by yours, Baz. Don't know if you've seen it. Someone's dressed their house.
Oh, you should see the co-op.
It looks amazing.
You go down Abbeystead. Is it there?
I don't know what names.
There's one in Abbeystead.
Don't want names of places.
Two corpses from the
Oh yeah. Are you sure they hung them up, or they just weren't?
At the decoration.
Are you sure those two corpses were just not warnings to people to stay out of that area?
How's further over?
Okay.
No, you should see the co-op down the road. They've had their deckies up for like over a week now, but then
Halloween deckies.
Yeah, like
Is that how we're referring to things now?
Halloween
decorations. No, but they've got like stuff all over, like the the self-scan machines and that.
Yeah.
But I didn't clock it was for Halloween. I was like, mate, you've got
just
stuff
thought
on
it
your
was
machine.
really bad.
Is
But
that
Bob,
what we call Halloween decoration? Because to me, it's just a mess, isn't it? Cobwebs in that.
okay. Bob, I didn't say it was cold, mate. It is warm. It's warm here. It's just lashing down like floods.
Yeah, Bob.
So obviously it's going to be the worse the rain is, the warmer it's going to be, and it is quite mildy, but it's absolutely lashing down. And but I'm saying with the light that this is going to be the last time it's light.
Well, to be fair, it could be dark outside for all we know anyway. Because
I can see. I mean, I can see,
Okay.
and also I know by the date that it's not dark yet. So unless this becomes some
I
kind
don't
of
know the date.
weird
Baz
mood,
hasn't told me
Until
on
the
this show.
clocks go forward.
As Jack referred to, you can give us a call. I know it's like this is the last day, isn't it, of the international break kind of situation. So there isn't loads to talk about. But whatever you want to talk about, even if you want to get in touch with us and ask, say, how does Thomas Tuchel's taking over the England job affect Jordan Pickford's position as England #1? And does that have any kind of ramifications of his Everton future? That could be a question.
But you can't use that one now.
No, you can. You just have to reword it. No, like if you were cheating in an exam, you just have to take my workings out and reword them.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve P has just said a really, really, really good question. Is anyone going as Dyche for Halloween? Because that's scary.
Well, we've all got hair, haven't we? Which would make it
He's
difficult.
got hair though.
No, but at current moment in time, he's got the capabilities. He's got the ability to grow hair, but he doesn't use it.
Which is weird, isn't he?
Yeah.
I've got the capability. It's like him in a squad. I've got the capabilities here to do a lot more attractive football, but very much like my hair, I don't want anything to do with it.
It's very much like Jesper Lindstrom.
I'm going route one. I'm getting the razor. The razor's the razor is effectively the ball in flight, isn't it?
Depends if you want to go real scary, you'd wear a t-shirt. That's just like Dyche subs on or something.
Dyche
I wouldn't go as Dyche.
Wouldn't you just essentially be the Invisible Man then? Like his subs?
But have a t-shirt that says like off NJ 78 on Harrison, something like that.
Yeah, you just have the 3 subs from the Bournemouth game on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That'd scare the fucking life out of me.
What do you think he'd look like with hair? And could we possibly put it into AI and take a look on this very show?
I don't know. Hang on. I will try it. I will try it right now. I'll put Sean Dyche. Tell me what kind of hairstyle? What hairstyle?
I don't know. I want the AI to decide, and then we can.
What Baz? But with a perm.
I want to see him with like sort of like a My Chemical Romance style, like greasy flick.
Okay. Greasy flick. That's also another style of football he likes playing.
I've put Sean Dyche.
I mean, that doesn't look like Sean Dyche, but I'll just show you it.
That's just some fella.
That's just some fella.
That's
you
just
can't
some
see
guy.
that, but it's just some guy. I don't. Maybe there's another Sean Dyche in the world that.
Ned, if you could maybe make a picture.
Yeah, maybe Ned, you
I need the laptop and Photoshop, but it's over there.
No, you use Twitter AI.
Gronk.
Groch on our Twitter. Use it. Charlie says new hairdresser pet. Well, actually, yes, because my barber is currently in Japan, and no, he's not cut. He's big in Japan.
Oh.
So he's in Japan, and I was in desperate need of a haircut, and I was just
Didn't
thought,
fancy going to Japan.
no, I mean I do fancy going to Japan,
But not for
But he's
me,
also moved. I mean, I don't think he'll be watching because he's in Japan, but he's also moved his shop to Ormskirk. Now,
That's basically
what's weird is
Japan
right, his
itself.
shop was in Skem, and now it's in Ormskirk, right? And technically, they're both the same distance from my house and would take the same time. But for me, Ormskirk just feels further.
Is it like
It's a psychological thing.
psychologically, like, I'm not going to Ormskirk, and he's like, what's the same distance? You're like, I'm not going to Ormskirk. Because I had a similar thing recently with a mate. He used to throw quite a lot of house parties and that, and he's recently moved to Ormskirk. And even though it's not even Ormskirk, it's like before, it's like McGull basically. But she said no, it's I'm not
this
going
is
to Ormskirk.
This is Ormskirk, and he's a brilliant barber, and anyone should go and see him because he's great. But I just thought, right, there's a barber's by ours. I can go there. Good reviews. I got a nice shave as well. Done a good shave. But also, I wanted to change it up a little bit. So I told him to just go really, really short. Get rid of me comb back as well. I just wanted to go really, really short and just change it up. And then what I might do is just let it grow out a little bit for next time I get my hair cut and go back to Darren. And
So he's got more to work with.
so he's got a canvas. He's got a clean canvas to work with. And that's it really. I just wanted to go dead short. And also when I go for a run, don't ever mention I go for a run now and again.
You run?
Yeah, now and again I like going for a run. So you know when you've got longer hair, it's horrible. It feels horrible.
Boss getting out the shower and it's just like you're ready because your hair just
Yeah,
has to
well,
be
Ned's
dry
recently
and
had
got
is chopped as well, but there you go. So that's the tale of that. So I know there's not. I mean, Andy's put Ormskirk as a nightmare. I work in Skem and live in Southport. Those roads are a bane of my life. That's it. It feels like just getting it because the one in Skem is go up the two motorways and you go off and you're there. You're in the barbershop. 1, 2, 3 roundabouts. Only 3 roundabouts, which isn't. No, 4 roundabouts. 4 roundabouts, which is an incredibly low amount for Skem. 4 roundabouts, and I'm there.
Is this like a local rivalry thing? Though, he's saying I'm Skem and we're all right, but Ormskirk is that
No. See,
like a border?
My barber, right? So when I first went to my barber, right, he was in Liverpool. He was in the town centre. He was part of Cutthroat Pete's in town. And then after COVID, everything started getting more expensive, and he was like, right, I can have my own barbershop in Skem. That's where I live. And now he's got an even better barbershop. He's even got his own academy upstairs. He's a really good barber.
Barbershop Academy?
Yeah, barbershop academy, yeah. Might even have a barbershop quartet. I mean, let's be honest.
Barbershop director of football.
Yeah.
Probably has.
He's producing like Barbershop, Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, he's got like, he's basically, director of barbershops. So he's doing really well, and there is that just psychological thing of Skem and Ormskirk, even though distance, there's not much
It
distance.
sounds to me like he keeps moving further away from you. Like he
does,
moved out the
doesn't it?
city centre to go to Skem.
It
You
does,
followed
doesn't
him
it?
to Skem. He's gone to Ormskirk.
He's testing me.
You followed him there, so now he's had to go to
Preston.
Japan.
He's going to go to,
Now he's gone to Japan.
Yeah, and him going to Japan has forced me to go to.
like-
And the barbers I went to is called Magic Cuts, and I put it in my diary. And when I put it in my diary, it ends up in Baz's diary. And Baz thought I was taking the dog because it does sound like the barber's like in Dumb and Dumber or something, doesn't it? You know, that was Mutt Cuts.
Sounds like it's
Must
like a dog.
That was Mutt Cuts, but this is Magic Cuts. But anyway,
I can just imagine your poor barber trying to get further and further away from you, and every time you're just at the window,
He's in
he's
Japan.
like,
I'll be
"Hello,
not far away."
we're here for a haircut."
yeah, just to yes, we are chatting Wham, but we are waiting for our first
Yeah.
caller. That's why we're chatting Wham, because there's literally hardly any Everton story. But I will go to Adam Brooks, who says, what are your thoughts about the speculation about Bramley Moore being rumoured to host the 2027 Champions League final?
It was fake. It was spread by the Azul on Twitter, who's funny,
Yeah.
but he spreads like it's done to real people, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah, it's not true. The same way
funny,
that there was was it in Sports Illustrated that there was a piece done about as being about the stadium, which is also not true.
What was that?
That basically the ground was featured in Sports Illustrated, and it was going to be this amazing blah blah blah. Listen, I don't think we could have Champions League. It's not big enough for Champions League.
No.
I think we could get Europa League. You couldn't get Conference League because I think all Conference League finals have to be in Eastern Europe. That's one of the rules, quite literally.
Why?
Because it's a tournament that was for lesser countries. So they're trying to spread the economical the value of it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So we could have Europa, but we couldn't. It's not big enough for Champions League. Of course, it's big enough for. I think it's big enough for international games. It's big enough for obviously the Euros and stuff like that. But it ain't big enough for the Champions League. And it's sure 52,000 or nearly 53,000 isn't big enough. Isn't big enough. So, but why would someone at the stadium? Right, I put something on Twitter on Saturday, and I was being a little bit mischievous in a way. Yeah, someone from Everton actually did say, "You're being mischievous, aren't you?" And I was like, "No, I'm just,
being nefarious, mate.
Just being the notorious PED." It works. I mean, long as I keep better company, I keep better company than he did.
Anyway,
so I put a picture of the area where the new Lazy Boys are going to be. Right. So this was what I put on Twitter. I think these should be binned in 3 years because they've been bought in 3-year packs, right? And I said I think these should be binned because I think you could get probably 400 to 500 extra seats, which would take us over 53,000. And then maybe there might be other places in the ground where you can start getting a couple, more numbers here and there. Now, someone said, a few people were jumped on it and went, well, they cost £25,000 a season, so you'd be missing out on all this money. Well, number one, if you're missing out on a couple of million a year, right, a Premier League club shouldn't be arsed. Genuinely shouldn't be arsed. Shouldn't be, should they? I don't think.
Well, no, but I think that mentality overall, that's what we're trying to do with the stadium, is increase everything. It's the same we say about getting people in to have an extra drink in the ground. That might only be an extra $1 million a day, but we need to increase everything.
And I
get what you say.
I fully appreciate that. But people were taking it, as I was saying, just normal season tickets in that area. Now, no, I wasn't. What I was saying is that's a hospitality area. It backs onto the hospitality lounges. So if you were to get a seat there, which would basically be, it's the right in the middle of the west stand, right middle as in it's on line with the halfway line, but also middle as in the best seat in the house. So I'm saying those seats would be £3,000 a season, right? £3,000 a season times by, let's say, 450 seats. That's your money right there.
How much less would that be than what they're currently going for, though, obviously a reduced amount?
Well, then they're not. They're going for £25,000 a season.
Yeah, but so how many of them is there?
So let's say there's 64 of them.
60, yeah.
Okay. Right? So let's say you have 8 seats per one lazy boy. So that's 4 and 4. So that's easy capable, right? That, to me, is much better. Now, of course, that means an extra 400 people, let's say, in the lounges, using the lounges, right? So I get that, right? But to me, just as a stadium, and I had loads of people arguing me, and some people said, well, these things are much better. And I was like, no, they're not, because that's 450 less Evertonians in the ground for a start that might want to go. Someone at Everton said to me, and they've said this all the way through, and I'm not digging out, said, there's this idea that we can't sell expensive seats. And I was like, you're absolutely right, mate. Get the best of the best and sell it to Evertonians, and someone will buy them. I've got no problem with that. But to me, having 400 extra Evertonians in there who'll pay £3,000 to £4,000 for this amazing seat with hospitality is better than having these lazy boys. I think it looks better. I think it just looks better anyway. It being, as a stadium, there's an extra 400. I think getting more people into the ground is a better thing. This is just my opinion. And I know people will go, it's been costed and all this. That's all I was saying, is that I'd rather see an extra 400 people paying very good prices, by the way, than maybe, 60 odd people in these lazy boys that I feel don't really have a place at football grounds as such. Don't get me wrong, I understand why they're there, and I'm not, and also, by the way, I'm not kicking off about it. That was my argument on the weekend. So be interested to hear people's opinions about that, because of course there's a place for any kind of hospitality that makes Everton money. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. I just think if you're looking for extra things, because for all we know, they'll go, yeah, but you've got to be dead, you've got to be rich to have one of them. For all we know, someone who's on the waiting list for a season ticket might be prepared to pay that £3,000, and that opens up one more space for fans who are prepared to pay probably just under £1,000, let's just say, for the tickets. So,
well, sorry, just to ask it again, how much did he cost again? The currently
£25,000.
£25,000, and
so let's say there's 8 seats instead of that one seat, right? And those 8 seats are, let's just say, £3,500 each.
Okay, so you've got £3,500 times how many? About 450, give or take.
Well, let's just say 8. Just say 8.
Okay, times 8 that'd be £28,000.
There you go. So that's more than £25,000, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's
that you have to think about that.
No, you're throwing a lot of numbers at me.
So if you had 8 seats, right, instead of the one seat, you could earn an extra £3,000 for that one seat.
Well, if we'd made more money doing it, then yeah, it stops there, doesn't it? But it might be a case of the weight it up and going, look, maybe we'll fill these more consistently by doing less for more.
That's fine, mate. That is absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. I just heard a lot of people talking about the ground being too small, and that straight away, and people are like, well, it's only an extra 400 people, but you've just found an extra 400 people, and that takes you over 53,000. So straight away, now if you can find another, say, if there was a change in the standing rule, so it wasn't 1 for 1 and it was 1 to a half, then there's another extra 3,000. So before you know it, you're at 56,000, and suddenly it sounds a little bit better, doesn't it? And that's all I was saying.
No, it's a fair point, because obviously I think it's quite a universal sentiment that we'd like the ground to be bigger and to hold a bigger capacity, and that is one of the areas where it technically can be increased, because obviously you pay for a better seat, you get more room, it's a bigger area. But it's modern football, isn't it, where those things have to be weighed up. The way you're describing it, I'd have to go over the numbers properly. You're describing a way where you could probably make the money up.
Yeah. No, and it's fine. It's not an argument. I'm not fighting a corner here. I was just saying the other day, I'd rather have 500 extra people in. If you look at the seats, by the way, and you look at how much room they take up, you can see clearly you could probably get 8 seats for every one of them in without too much of a problem, I'd say. Without too much of a problem, I think anyway. But listen, as I said, I'm just spitballing. I'm just.
Do you think maybe because those are hospitality seats, aren't they? Do you think maybe it links to how many hospitality customers they can potentially cater for as well? Maybe that's part of it. And maybe it's, we'd rather get less people in, paying more, so it's the same amount of money, but it's less people to cater for. And you're
absolutely, Jack, you're absolutely right. It might be a case of that they've budgeted for this and budgeted for that, and they don't want, it's actually having less people in. Having less people in, it makes more sense. Don't get me wrong, I'm not stupid.
Yeah. But I'm not going against it. I'm just wondering if maybe that's part of it.
Someone said to me as well about, like, well, there's only so many toilets. And I was like, yeah, but don't forget, when this ground was getting built, we were told that it could hold 60,000 with safe standing. That's what we were told. We were given this number, and then they went, yeah, but it can rise. So that it was like the sweetener for us all. We were there. We were remembered. We were at all the early briefings, me and Baz. And don't get me wrong, I love the stadium. I love it. James, one of our members, says, when do you think they'll allow safe standing in the Prem? They allow it right now, mate. Nearly every ground in the Premier League has got safe standing, has got a safe standing section. They've got it on the Cop. They've got it at Old Trafford. They've got it nearly everywhere. Ipswich has got it. Ipswich just come up and they've got it. They could have had it for the last 2 years. Most grounds in the Premier League have already got a form of safe standing. The rules would have to be changed, or not even the rules. The Green Book would have to be amended to get 2-1, which is essentially what 2-1 means is, and this is how we'd get 60,000 is, and we saw this when we went to Dortmund is, for every person who stands next to a seat, someone stands in front of them. So Dortmund have like a little gully in front, a little half step, and a person stands between the people. Now, I don't think that'll ever happen in this country, but if you don't try and get it, you'll never get it. But I love the ground. I love the ground, and I know a lot of people go, it's too small, or why can't it be made bigger? And I've heard people criticise the north stand. Have a look at the ground now, and take a look at the north end. And there's this idea of the north, where the north stand finishes. That when they were building, and even now, they had access to some of the land next door, but now they've put a fence up, and you can see that the stand goes all the way
to the
edge of the fence. It can't go any further, and that's why that end is smaller. And the south stand goes all the way to the water. So there would have to be some dramatic changes in how we build things. You could have the east stand could be made bigger because of the land there, but then it would be massively complicated by the fact that it would make the fans area smaller,
and you need the walkway.
You'd have
as well, don't you?
It would make the ground look weird. Also, there wouldn't be that symmetry. So I just thought that by getting rid of the lazy boys, you could just add some seats, and it would at least get us over 53,000. Which Rod Ross saying you don't think you get 8 there. Forget about the one chair, as in like putting 8 in the place of one chair. Take away the little fence and the space that's between the chairs. That's what I'm talking about. Like the actual, take away all those chairs and look at how many seats you could get in the space that all those chairs take up. But listen, Everton made a decision based on the place they wanted to build the ground on. We could have had a 60, 70,000 seater if we'd wanted, and it would have been up in Croxteth, and it wouldn't have been iconic, and it wouldn't have been exciting, and we wouldn't have got benefits from being in that area, and we wouldn't, there wouldn't have been any, when we're talking about concerts and bringing money into the area and all that kind of thing, it wouldn't have helped us.
It's a different story, isn't it?
It wouldn't have helped us one bit. It would have been closer to Kirby than it would to Liverpool city centre. So we've chosen a place which looks utterly amazing, and we've all seen Everton put a video out today with going over at night, and it looks unbelievable. And what we've sacrificed is seats. We've sacrificed seats because I don't think it could have been bigger in terms of the ground. What could have been
going into the other?
What could have been different is the seats are obviously going to be bigger than ones we're sitting on now. So maybe if we'd sacrificed a little bit of seat size, you could have maybe got an extra 1 for every 4. And that means a few more thousand seats.
But everyone's a bit more packed in. Which I think for some people part of the appeal is moving into somewhere a little bit more comfy, isn't it? It's one of them. It's difficult. They could have done that. They could have, although it would have been very expensive, bought the neighbouring dock as well potentially and filled that in and almost built it in the middle of the two, so they had more room on every side of every stand. But it was already very expensive to do, wasn't it?
The one thing about the ground is, I'd say, is I personally believe that the rail seating is the future, and what I've experienced, and me and Baz have experienced, and John have experienced firsthand, is that 1 to 2 or 2 to 1, is achievable if we keep going down this path, and if people behave themselves. It is achievable to have an extra person in there. Now, the way they police that is very different. And the way we got it in Germany was when you go up to your seat, you'll be asked for your ticket, and you can't go out of that area that you're in. And it wasn't strictly either that you'd have a seat. It didn't really work like that. But you'd have to stay in an area. And I know here they'd probably think, but what'll end up happening is a load of lads will just want to go into one area, and then it'll just be chaos, and they won't be able to police it. So they would have to police it differently than they do now. But I still think that I still think that we could get those extra numbers in. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. It's obviously not going to be something from day one. I'd like to see someone in Everton and maybe someone from start lobbying for more to change to change it a little bit.
Well, considering it was something that the club were very public about, that with the safe standing, with that, if we can do the 2-to-1 system, it goes to this height.
Yeah.
So it was obviously something they were aware of, and the ground is built with that in mind. It's got the capability to do that.
Michael, one of our Premier members, said they've had to completely resoil the pitch the past week due to the incorrect soil being used originally. Is that true, Michael? Because I don't think they've put any soil on it before this week, and if they had, it'd only been in the top corner where the entrance is. What they've done so far is put the layers on, but they hadn't actually put any soil on. They started putting soil on now, but up till last week, the only soil they'd put on it was in the top corner. So maybe they had up there, but they hadn't put soil on the whole pitch. So I'm not sure if that's strictly true.
How does one get incorrect soil?
I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, but they certainly didn't cover the entire pitch. L4 No Discourse says 3 sides of the stadium look like they can be expanded, no problem. No, I don't think they can, mate. The north stand and the south stand can't go back any further. So the only way that could be changed is if they kept it at the same distance but somehow managed to get a steeper stand, and I don't think that's possible right now, so I'm not sure about that. The east stand probably could be because there's so much land there, but Everton need that land for other things like the fan zone, they're going to have hold concerts in there and things like that.
You need space as well, don't you, for fans to walk, for away fans to go down, to keep it separate without having everyone too bunched together as well. So, they would be in a difficult situation if they ever wanted to expand it in terms of, expanding the stands and making the stands bigger, because it is almost like you'd have to move the entire stadium over a few yards.
Michael says it's 100% true. My weight works for Langs on the stadium. No, I'm not disagreeing with you, mate. What I'm saying is they didn't cover the entire pitch in that soil, though. They only put it in the top corner. I think they put it in the top corner and it never covered the entire pitch. They've only just started covering the pitch with soil this week. So what might have happened is they brought the wrong soil in, brought it into the stadium, and then someone might have realised and they've quickly got rid of it. But they hadn't covered the entire pitch. But I don't think it would cost delays that bad because they've got like 6 weeks basically more on the stadium. So,
just on the Dyche with her front,
Yeah.
there's a thing called generative fill in Photoshop.
Okay.
So what I did, I got a picture of Dyche and I chopped his head off, and then I expanded it. So I let Photoshop decide what the rest of his head should look like, and it gave me this.
Let's have a look.
Oh wow!
I mean, it looks very trendy.
It looks like him when he was a player. He
looks very trendy there. Yeah,
he looks like he could be like a number 10 from the Czech Republic.
They give him a gold watch as well.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like the watch they give him.
Like his name's like Schlotterbov or something in the 10.
Dyche Schlotterbov.
Yeah, I like that.
I like it.
Very on. And he looks like someone who's probably going to a rave and IB for Auto Oasis. So fair play to him. Fair play to him. Fair play to Ned as well. He's obviously put a lot of time into that. Fair play. You've done the work there. Secret Gamer says 57 to 58 would have been perfect, I think. Yeah, I think that would have been perfect. Yeah. Right, we got Gaz.
Yeah.
Let's listen to Gaz then. Probably moaning about being injured or something.
Hello?
They're just turn him up. Go on, Gaz.
Yeah, hello, lads. Just thought I'd give a bit of a bell. Really, just trying to think of something to talk about with being no football. So, weirdly enough, today, on the Premier League League years, they have the 2-hour shows on Sky.
Oh, yeah.
It was the 13-14 season. Martinez's first season. And it's just sickening watching it compared to now. Like I say, you forget, like I say, by Christmas, we'd been beat once, and that was by City.
Yeah.
We finished on 72 points. We were 23 points ahead of Newcastle. We were 38 points ahead of Villa, who stayed up. Yeah, and 10 years, well, just over 10 years, if you look at it now.
Yeah.
So the question is, just to discuss something Everton,
Go on.
is what's the main reason it's gone so wrong in 10 years? Is it FFP? Is it poor management choices? Is it not moving stadiums quick enough? Is it other teams improving? What is it that's gone so wrong in such a relatively short space of time? 10 years is nothing.
Jack, go on.
Shocking transfer business is probably a massive factor in that. When you look at that team, you know, De La Feu, Morales, Pina, Barkley, Lukaku were brilliant attacking players, and I just think we moved away from that sort of model, didn't we? When the money came in, the transfers, for the most part, largely got worse, and we were paying big money to players to make sideways or backwards moves. You had Morgan Schneiderlins, your Yannick Bolassis, your Gylfi Sigurdssons. It was worlds apart from going, oh yeah, there's this brilliant young winger who's playing out in Belgium, Lukaku, a brilliant forward who's looking for first team football, not getting it at Chelsea, bring him in. It was just worlds apart, and I think we stopped being brave and we started being lazy with a lot of our transfers. And I think when we had to pinch our pennies a little bit more, we had to look for the right player at the right price. When we got money initially, we had a player in mind and we just went and got them. We wanted Yannick Bolassis and we got held to ransom for him. We wanted Gylfi Sigurdsson and we got held to ransom for him. Rather than going, no, that's too much, we'll look for another player. And then, like you just mentioned, with PSR coming in, that later hurt us when we had all these expensive players on massive contracts that we'd obviously paid far too much for, and we're now going to make massive losses on if they were to leave. So, yeah, I think that was arguably the biggest factor.
Yeah. I think it started before that, though. I think for me, that season was amazing. But the problem was, as we all know, Martinez wanted to go away from what actually worked in the first season and started playing football out from the back. And obviously, John Stones came into the side. But then we started having, the team just... your Tom Cleverleys of the world. Because we'd bought Lukaku, we had to scrimp and save in other areas. And I think he never had an eye for a good player like maybe Moyes did. And then Moyes' players started to... He wanted Moyes... Not Moyes, the back... What that first season was built on was obviously Moyes' hard work and organisation. And Martinez started eroding that. And I just think it was one of those weird situations where... Imagine Macheri had come in that first summer after we got 72 points and allowed Martinez maybe to bring in good players, and so that you've got this weird horrible thing of that doesn't happen, and then we get through a couple of seasons and we end up buying terrible players like Nias, and then so Martinez looks awful. The owner can't wait to sack him. He does get... he didn't get sacked quick enough, but he gets sacked. And then we've got this thing of, we've got all this money and we're going to get a new manager and we're going to get a director of football. And everything just sort of came too quickly all at once. We're spending money, like Jack just said there, and he couldn't wait, could he? And then the rules started to change. PSR started coming in as well. Because he was so poor, Macheri, he was listening to he had the director of football, he had the manager who wanted players. Kia Joraban was trying to offload all kinds of players to him as well. He liked the look of players. He got his heart set on certain players like Sahar and stuff like that. And there was Ken Wright was there as well. There's just no one in charge, properly in charge, and it just created this mess. And you just think if he'd come in that summer after we did get that 72 points and Martinez was in charge and maybe could have picked better players, then maybe things might have gone slightly different for us. But it started off, it's just one of those things where it started a mess and just continued as a mess. And then by the time we got to COVID and the Ukraine war, that really just played its big part in it, didn't it? So it was... just such a unique mixture of things that has caused the 10 years. I don't think you could say it was one thing. I don't think you could just say it was Macheri. I think it's a collection of just really, really bad circumstances all coming in together. And as I said, oddly enough, it started with Martinez deciding that what had worked for him in the first year, he wanted to go away from, which I can never understand. I can never understand why he didn't go, no, first couple of years, going to really nail down what we've been doing at this football club, have another good season. We're in Europe now. Let's keep to the principles. But he wanted to get away from it so quickly, falling out with people like Distan, keeping Tim Howard in goal too longer because Tim Howard was one of the leaders in the dressing room, so didn't want to lose. You know, the dressing room was obviously split at times. Tim Howard was a big one in his corner, and there was just too much going on all at once, and when there really should have been a real harmony at the club.
I think part of the issue for Martinez as well was we were very reliant on Baines and Coleman as well. They made that team function, having those fullbacks pushing up the pitch, and once teams found ways to stop them, then yeah, we were vulnerable, and that's when we would be passing the ball around the back for 15-minute spells while getting up the pitch. Once teams figured out how to stop them too, we lost our ability to get up the pitch, didn't we? And I think, yeah, maybe we could have done with adding a little bit more, taking that next step. Obviously, working around the key principles of what made that team tick, but maybe trying to add to it. But again, if we'd had the money, because all we did the window after was bring back Lukaku, which brilliant sign, and obviously it was record sign at the time, and it made sense to go and get him. But it meant that the team was almost the same as what it had been before. While everyone else took steps forward, the teams around us, your Arsenals, your Tottenhams, we spent all our money just keeping it the same.
It is, when you look at the goals we were scoring as well.
Yeah,
it was not at all what you'd consider or what you remember Martinez being. It weren't. It was quick. It was on the break. It was hitting teams with pace, and Barkley, Morales, Lukaku, all of that. And it's just, I just don't know what would go through someone's head to think that works so well, so let's just rip it up. I think even though that season was under Martinez, I think the start of the whole thing going tits up was Moyes leaving. And I do still think that. And like you say, a lot of other things contributed to it. But it's just when you're looking at it and you're thinking that squad was accumulated for net spend negative.
Yeah.
And then you look at how much money we've spent in the 10 years since. I know not as much over the last 3 years, 4 years, but if you look at how much money we've spent to go, like I say, 30 odd points ahead of Villa, 20 odd points ahead of Newcastle, we were 8 points ahead of United. We scored 3 goals plus in like 5 or 6 games running. Good God. It's just frustrating, really frustrating. But yeah, I just thought I'd
let me just
think
give you
of
this.
Something Everton with that being on.
Well, I'll tell you some of listen to some of these players, and this will explain to you why it went the way it did. I think so. Obviously, Romelu Lukaku, we bought him, but for Romelu Lukaku, then you've got a Nias, you've got a James McCarthy, but then you've got a Funes Mori, and I know loads of people like Funes Mori, but I thought he was rubbish, and we also bought him at the expense of bringing in Virgil van Dijk. So we, Aruna Kone. But we brought in Deulofeu, and that's one of the reasons maybe in the second year we weren't as good. But then Deulofeu, we had Aaron Lennon, who really wasn't good enough. Mo Besic ended up being terrible. We've got Tarashai, never ever played a game. Like basically,
I was thinking I know a lot about Everton, and that name just doesn't ring a bell. I can't even remember it.
We put
Shani Tarashai.
He was a young Swiss player who we bought, and then we left him where he was, and then he got injured and he never recovered. I think he ended up having to retire. He went to Holland for a little bit, but it never worked, and he had to retire from football. But he was never that good anyway. Aidan McGeady, you know what I mean? Like.
Out of the players that we bought under Martinez, I think the only ones that we paid transfer fees for that Martinez had either not had on loan before or not managed before at Wigan were McGeady, Besic, Nias, Funes Mori, and then if you want to count Tarashai and Leandro Rodriguez as well.
Rodriguez, I mean...
I remember him.
Well, he's a player who came in, right? Had absolutely nothing about him, right? went on loan to a Belgium second division club and was rubbish there and was literally never heard of again. And I don't know, Martinez had a reputation of buying some very, very strange players when he was at Wigan, South American players. And that one was another one that you can add to it. Now, I don't want to, get anyone into trouble, but that's a very, very strange signing to be bringing into a club like Everton, a player who simply was never, ever good enough and just faded back to, back to nothingness. He brought Samuel Eto'o in and then fell out with him.
Eto'o as well.
Lucina Traore on loan, played 2 games. Tom Cleverley, you said was the greatest free transfer of all time. The greatest.
Sol Campbell.
Alcaraz, my God, I still shudder thinking about him. Like, these players are rubbish, like proper rubbish. And that was it, basically. He had that first spell where he managed to get hold of Rom and he managed to get hold of Delafeu, McCarthy and Barry. And after that, every signing, bar maybe 1 or 2, absolutely stunk the gaff out. Like horribly stunk the gaff out. And that, the man could not buy a player. He could not buy a player. He could not see a player. And like you just said, when Moyes left, Moyes could see a player. Moyes can still see a player. And I do genuinely believe it comes down to, like Jack said, recruitment. And Martinez started that. And if he'd got his recruitment better, then who knows where we could have ended up. But going into that second season, it just started going downhill because there's having money and there's not having money. But some people find not having money like crystallizes your view, really brings into sharp focus the kind of person. Moyes always said it. No knobheads. We don't do knobheads here. And you stay away from the knobheads. You speak to them. You end up not having your Craig Bellamy's of the world and your Bartons of the world. Because they're going to come in and they're going to cause murder. And the group's so tight that you can't have that. And for me, that's where it started going wrong. Some of these, honestly, when you look through the list of the players that Martinez brought in, it's truly embarrassing. It's truly, because you look at where they went after they left Everton, and some of them, my God, some of them went to retirement. Some of them just disappeared. We lost money on some of these players. They just went nowhere. They went absolutely nowhere. They did absolutely nothing for us.
It was so exciting though as well. I remember it come up on bloody Facebook. No, they had the memories thing, time up or whatever from 10 years ago. I remember we scored a goal and it was John Stones slotting it into Barkley, slotting it into Delafeu, slotting it into Lukaku. All of them were under 23. And then 2 years later, we've got the mess that you're talking about, and it's just absolutely mind-boggling out.
No, it's crazy.
Don't speak ill of, but like Ken Wright and everyone else at the club, director of football, can let a team fully, like young players, Baines at that time would have been mid-20s. Coleman's still fucking going now 11 years later.
I'm just looking.
You're just letting it fall apart.
I know. I'm just looking
ridiculous.
here, right? I'm looking at Leandro Rodriguez. So we bought him off River Plate. But it was River Plate in Uruguay, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a different one.
It was Uruguayan River Plate. It wasn't even that. Again, they probably used that. They probably twisted that. So River Plate in Uruguay. He then went on. He went to Brentford on loan.
Yeah, it was when clubs in the Championship used to get players for
I
a
remember.
month. He came off.
So we paid him £800,000 for him. Then he went to Brentford on loan. Then he went to a team in Belgium that no one's ever heard of. Then he went to Dana Bio, down at the Bio, which is
plays for Luton, doesn't he?
Which is a team. I don't even know where that team is. It might be in. It's in Uruguay. So we went back to Uruguay. He went back to Uruguay. Then he went to CA Torquay. Then he went from Torquay to Racing Club. Then he went to Osaka in Mexico. Then he went to Dan Bio again. This lad, when you hear those stories of players, have you ever heard these stories of players who managed to blag themselves through a football career, and every time the manager picks them, they get some kind of injury, but they always manage to get a contract somewhere? He strikes me as this kind of player. He's still playing. He's currently at Deportiva Villa Español, who play in God knows where. He's managed to bounce around about 10 clubs without playing basically any games for them.
Do you reckon he claimed to be cousins with George Weah?
Definitely.
Exactly.
Honestly, but that's
I know it weren't.
Manners had a track record of buying players like that at Wigan. So strange. I don't know what's gone into that, but honestly, after that first season, some of the players he bought were just disgusting. Like, literally, you might as well have set fire to the money. And
I know it weren't Martinez, but at the same time, we're talking about the same time period. A couple of years later, Ross Barkley was deemed not good enough for a new contract.
Yeah.
Who's still ripping it up in the Premier League. He's been outstanding this season.
No, it's mad, isn't it? Well, it's just
he weren't deemed good enough.
It's just been a mad power grab, hasn't it? It was just a mad power grab because let's be honest, Michele from day one has not had a clue what he was doing. He got Football Manager without the instructions. He had no idea what he was doing, and instead of leaving it to people who might have understood, is just
never had a grip on the football club. He only ever put the money in.
Never a clue. He didn't have
and
a clue.
It literally was Football Manager because he was spending someone else's money, not his own.
But it wasn't his game of Football Manager, though. That's the mad thing. It wasn't even his game. He's your annoying sibling standing over your shoulder telling you how to play Football Manager. If Football Manager was played in pubs on fruit machines, he was that fella who'd come round to tell you to hold
Gareth Bale, yeah?
Hold your plums or whatever. It wasn't even his game. It was just ridiculous. Terrible. Just a terrible. It's just been unbelievably terrible period, and then obviously with everything that's gone on, and even when he made the right decision and went, do you know what, this needs flushing, I'm going to bring in a new manager with a director of football from Holland who seems to know his apples, and I'm going to put them together and I'm just going to leave them. And he couldn't even leave them alone. He was trying to buy bloody Zaha when no one wanted Zaha, and ended up getting a Wobie and couldn't stop interfering, and then Bill's interfering, and it's just like, can't you let this up-and-coming promising manager with this director of football who knows his stuff just leave them to get on with stuff? And he couldn't even do that. And it's when people keep on going, it's this fella's fault or it's that fella's fault. It's not. It's Farhad Moshiri's basically being at the all of it. It's been his fault all
Alex
the way
Ferguson's fault for retiring.
yeah. Blame Sir Alex.
Blame Jim Ratcliffe.
Well, I know there's people waiting, so I will go.
Nice one, Gaz. How are you anyway, mate? How are you?
Yeah, good, man.
How's your knee?
I don't know. I don't know if I've been on since, but I've been for another scan. I need a full knee replacement now. So, yeah, not great, but
mate,
it is what it is. We'll get there.
It is what it is. You're still here. You're still moaning. That's all that matters.
Before I go, another thing to fucking moan about. You're on about spooky season. My house is like a fucking ghost train. My missus and my sons absolutely love it. There's stuff hanging off, lampshades hanging off, but you pick your battles. So
that's it.
Before to with you.
So you're on about that house, yeah? That's our house.
Nice one, mate.
No worries. I'll speak to you later, boys.
See you later.
Nice one, guys. All the best.
What's going on, Ned?
No one else there.
Oh, okay. Sound. No, Martinez. Yeah, Martinez could have been so good, but he wasn't.
Yeah, it was just mistake after mistake, wasn't it? Which then left us vulnerable to things like PSR, left us vulnerable to people like Koeman being able to rule the roost and, make decisions that really hurt the football club long term. We just never protected ourselves, did we? Because we never had a serious owner. We had a fella who was mad with power over allegedly someone else's money. And we never had any sort of order or structure at the football club. And therefore, people who wanted to come in and make big changes were allowed to. Power struggle between managers and directors of football and the owner and the chairman. At a time when we just needed structure and stability.
It's mad, isn't it? Because normally, when clubs have power struggles, it's because like an owner's come in or a director of football's come in or something creates a power struggle. Like, we created our own power struggle. Like, there was nothing wrong. There was like periods where there's been nothing wrong, and we were like, you know what? No, we boss. If we just do something mad, and like create a power struggle or something.
It's like he'd just watched like the second season of Game of Thrones and was like, this is boss this. We'll have the war of the 5 owners.
But even after the Chelsea game when we beat Chelsea, when Lukaku scored the goal, going towards the semi-final, and you've got Ken Wright on one side of Martinez and Michele on the other on the TV interview, and Ken Wright's going, we've got the greatest manager in the world here, and Michele's on the other side going, you're getting sacked, mate. Like, literally, you can see it in his eye going, you're getting sacked. Even stuff like that, it was like, at the time, we all knew, we were all sitting there going, what are you talking about? He's going to get the sack, and you're sitting there spinning this nonsense about him. And even stuff like that was like, you're the owner, mate, get rid of this fella. Get rid of him. You've actually bought his shares.
Yeah.
Ian. Who we got? Mike, go on, Mike. Even stuff like that was like at the time. All I can hear is myself.
I don't think he's listening to the chat. I just think he's listening to the live.
Is he waiting for it to catch up with me saying hello, Mike?
Yeah.
Hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike. Mike, where are you?
All right, lads, you all right?
Go on,
All right,
mate.
Yeah, all right. Good luck in your new job, Jack.
Oh, nice one, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully, you'll have a good time.
Yeah, nice one. Hopefully you haven't seen the last of me, and I will still pop up occasionally.
You say that.
Oh, you can pop up whenever you want, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might just even call up on Club
Keep that
Call.
bloody Ned one away, though.
Just mute him anytime I want.
Right.
You're talking to Mike. You're talking to Ned's got the power here to just cut you off. So you got to be a bit nicer.
Well, I'm just wondering. Obviously Ned's got a new job. So has his ma been to Asda to buy him a suit and a new shirt and that?
No, she doesn't go to Asda. She went to She just yeah. I can't really say it, but it involves a shovel and.
Again,
I hold the power of the live stream, not just the chat room.
You know what, though, Ned? You've been
Hold the power
dressing
of the
better
chat
lately.
right now.
Do you though?
You've been, as the kids say, drippy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jack.
Ned's come in wearing. No, he is. He's full dripped. He came in dressed like Eminem with a white t-shirt on, and then decided to throw a cup of coffee all over himself.
It's kind of gone now.
It's kind of gone. Where's it gone?
I cleaned it with fairy liquid and water.
Fairy liquid
Cold
and
water.
water.
So, anyway, question.
Go on.
Now that obviously we are moving on towards bigger and brighter hopes, hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood. How long do you reckon it'll be before they sack that bloody dinosaur? And after they've sacked him, who do we get?
Okay, I mean that's not like a little question, is it? That's a pretty big question.
Well,
go on, Jack. Go on, Jack. Go on.
Give us before 6 o'clock, mate. Innit? You know what I mean?
Go on, Jack.
See, I think a lot of it depends on what they want to do with Thelwell. I think if they're happy keeping Thelwell in the job, then he really can go at any time, the manager. I think if they're looking to get a new director of football in, then maybe they'd want to do that before they make a managerial change. So the new director of football could, in theory, pick the manager or at least have a very big say in it. So I think that's a big factor. I personally wouldn't be shocked if he does see out the season, just so they don't have to go down the road of, do we get a manager or director of football, or do we get both, but it takes longer. I think maybe that allows them more time to make their decision over the summer. Look, I'd have no problem if as soon as they come in, they go, look, he's going, we've got this manager in mind, let's say Thomas Frank, for example, who have spoke to him, he's willing to come in, we'll bring him in, and then that's that sorted. I wouldn't be shocked, though.
Frank?
I'd have Thomas Frank, yeah.
I'd have Thomas Frank as well. I'd have Thomas Frank. I like Thomas Frank. I heard him talking today. He's done an interview today. He's been at Brentford for 6 years, and they asked him about the future, and he was just like, well, I'll stay here, but, if something else comes up, something else might come up. I like Thomas Frank. I think he's very, very steady. I think he's a very calming influence. And I just think that, listen, nothing has to be like massively sort of long term. In fact, football now, you're looking at maybe like 3 years. I think like a Thomas Frank.
I'm really sorry, mate. I'm going to have to jump. One of my lads has just come in.
Go on, mate.
Sorry,
go on.
mate.
We'll just keep talking. Go on. See you later.
You have a nice one, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Nice one, mate.
I like Thomas Frank. I think Thomas Frank is the kind of manager that Everton should be looking at right now and thinking, could he be the next one? Now, whether he is the next one or not, it's just whether you look at him and think, what does he bring? Now, if Kevin Felwell does sign a new contract and you bring a Thomas Frank in, that's not a terrible situation to be in, I don't think, because you've got someone who's already at the football club, knows what's happened, knows where you need to strengthen. And then you bring in someone like Thomas Frank, who's worked with the director of football, and is a very calming presence. I find when he talks, there's never any mad issues, even when they might have lost a few games. He looks at it from a different perspective to maybe what other managers have looked at. It's a new era, but let's not look at it as a situation where we're like, it has to be. I mean, before today, it was like, we need a Thomas Tuchel. Now, yeah, we'd all love a Thomas Tuchel, but the football club where it is right now is more likely to get a Thomas Frank. I do think he's done a good job with Brentford. I think no one really talks about them as like relegation fodder. He always seems to find good players. Now, that might be more about the director of football than him. But when they get good players, he knows how to use them well. So I do like Thomas Frank. I think if you're looking at Everton right now, that's the kind of person that you go, he's got Premier League experience, That Dyche might go, I won't be sacked for anyone but someone who's got Premier League experience.
Over my dead body.
So I like him.
No, I do as well, and I think people point out the fact that we finished above Brentford last season, but look, we finished above Luton and people wanted Rob Edwards, they wanted some of their players. It doesn't work like that. Brentford's squad, to be honest, is not very good. They don't have the best players. He's done well keeping them, like you say, out of trouble, not as relegation candidates. When Klopp announced he was leaving, Frank was considered amongst the favourites to potentially go to Liverpool and was considered good enough for that. They went on a bad run after that, and that very much took him out of contention. But yeah, I like Thomas Frank.
I do like him. Right, we've got Fletch. He's going to be our last caller. Let's get Fletch on.
All right, boys, how's it going?
Go on, mate. Yeah, doing well, mate.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
I've just jumped in last minute. Right, so basically...
I've lost.
Has he gone? So basically, and I've gone.
Oh, can we get him back or...
Wait for him to connect.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Go on, we can hear you now.
Yeah, sorry, my screen locked. I just wanted to start with Thomas Tuchel as the New England manager. I think that's an impressive signing that for England, especially on an 18-month contract. I think that's going to be. I think if he wins us a trophy next tournament, I think that's going to be good goings. That for good innings for England. That.
Go on, Jack.
Yeah, I think that's the aim, isn't it? He's not a long-term appointment like a Lee Carsley would be, not like Gareth Southgate was. He's been brought in to get results in the short term. He's here for the one tournament, isn't he? He's here for the World Cup, and they're going for it. They've looked at the squad they've got, gone, we might not have a chance as good as this again with this crop of players. Harry Kane is, he's probably past his best, but there's no one close to him who's, especially younger, and there is going to be a striker vacuum soon for England. So they've gone, right, we've got one last chance, let's go for it, let's get the best manager available. And I rate it, it's ambitious.
Yeah, definitely. It's like there's been a lot of stick from the right flank about it being why shouldn't it be an English manager? But I agree with you, Jack. I agree with the principle of winning first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd rather win with a foreign manager than lose with an English one, wouldn't you? For me, like definitely. Tuchel and potentially going far, or Eddie Howe and out in the group stages and biting your hand off for Tuchel.
It's about the best possible candidate to lead England, isn't it? And just bringing it back to Everton as well. Have you heard about the news about it being a double rollover this season in terms of Everton management? About it being Sean Dyche is possibly getting the sack and replaced with David Moyes. David Moyes has only been given an 18-month contract, and then it'll be handed to Mourinho when the Friedkin group come in. Yeah,
but they'll be in 3 weeks or something, mate. So
that's the thing. Well, that's the thing. I've heard in the news that they're meant to be replacing Sean Dyche with David Moyes from now until the end of the season. And then afterwards, going into the new stage and being replaced with Jose Mourinho. And I mean, to be fair, I quite like that idea of it being...
Yeah, but what would be the point?
Well, what would be the point? I think because David Moyes would be the better option in terms of keeping Everton up. I think if the results don't go in our way, the results don't go in our favour, I think it might be a good possibility to bring David Moyes in. But the only likelihood is, from that respect, I don't think David Moyes would do it on a short-term basis. I think he'd want a decent contract.
Yeah, I think if Moyes was willing to come in as a short term, they might be willing to do it. But if he's going to want a longer term contract, and then they're going to have to sack him at the start of next season, I think they'll just view that as an unnecessary expense, and they'll either...
Yeah, David Moyes would see that as a waste of time, wouldn't he?
Well, I think he would, but he'd go, look, I'll be getting paid, 2 years' wage for 6 months' work. But I think the Friedkins, they'll either go, we'll stick with the manager and, believing he'll keep us up, and then bring in our long-term appointment, or we either sack him now and get someone in who can be that long-term appointment. I just wanted to say that quick. What do you think of a potential Jose Mourinho signing at Everton? I think that would be a good deal for Everton, from an Everton perspective. Me, in terms of our ambition, in terms of where we want to be as a club, I understand that he might let the party get to him after a couple of seasons. But if the results go in our favour and we get the investment in terms of the players that we want, I think that'd be an attractive proposition.
Nah, 10 years ago maybe, mate. I just think there's so many more progressive, better managers. I think it's a lazy link, and I think...
Do you think it's a lazy link? Do you think it's lazy?
Because he managed a freaking team in Roma. Him. I just think it's a lazy link, mate. I wouldn't...
I think it's a match made in heaven myself, personally.
Really?
Have you watched
Mourinho's football? Have you watched Mourinho's football?
Yeah, I have. He's not what he was 10 years ago, but he's still one of the best managers out there.
I think he's still a winner, isn't he? 'Cause he won a trophy at Roma, but I just think he's past his best, and you're only getting a short-term thing with Mourinho, and that's with good players as well. That's with teams that he's walked into that have already had good players. It's going to take us a couple of years to get to that level.
At the moment, Jack.
Yeah, well, that's the issue.
The problem Mourinho, is the problem, right, with the Mourinho, right, and this is the truth. If you bring him in, you have to give him the players he wants, and most of the players he wants will be players in there who are older than 25, and they'll all want long contracts on mega money, and that's why it won't happen, and that's why it can't happen. Because
if they can bring the book with them, as in like being good players and playing to the team spirit and actually playing the best they can possibly be, then I'd give them a decent long-term contract. But that's only if the players are good enough.
I know, but you've got to get away from that way, though. I think just with PSR and that, I think we've been very close before. The Friedkins are falling into the trap in Rome of this is what's got them into trouble in Rome, is spending a lot of money on players who have no sell-on value. So I think we need to change things. Listen, a lot of people will want Mourinho. He's still a massive name, and people like that kind of thing. I just think that...
I can imagine him in the dugout at the derby.
No, but you've got to get away. I get that. That'd be amazing. I understand that. Like him being at Anfield and giving it all the grief. But
imagine the FA Cup as well.
I know, but they're like little tiny moments, aren't they? We're talking about restructuring.
They're the dreams, though, aren't they?
I know, but I want
That's
dreams.
What dreams are made of, aren't they?
I want proper dreams, though. I want dreams of Everton going forward for like many years.
Yeah, going into the Champions League, going into the knockout stages.
I think Mourinho is just it's a short term thing, and I think it's something Macheri. I mean, if Macheri didn't give Mourinho a job, then it must be very outlandish. So I think there's a lot of good candidates out there. I think Mourinho now might be the thing about it is, don't get me wrong, I still think he's a brilliant manager. I just think for the kind of players that he'd want to bring to the club, it's a very dangerous game, and I just think that's where the Roma situation. If that's where
put your money where your mouth is, though, Pen. You could reap the rewards from it, though.
But isn't that what's caught us out in the last 10 years? It
feels too similar to the mistake.
Not necessarily, because Carlo ran from the hills when he saw what was coming with the financial fair play.
Hang on, Carlo went to Real Madrid, mate. Carlo went to Real Madrid. He went to the biggest job in the world. I don't think anyone can...
Exactly. Yeah, but I don't think that would happen again.
I know, but I don't want that to happen. I don't want
a new stage, and there's much of a step up from that.
Also, comparing Carlo and Mourinho, I don't personally believe you can compare them. I think Carlo is in a completely different league than Mourinho. Personally, I think Carlo is can walk into any situation.
Both proven winners, though, aren't they?
No, they are, but I think Carlo can walk into any situation and make it better. I'm not sure Mourinho's got that magic anymore, and that's why I just think it's.
Got it though, me. I still think Mourinho's got it.
I know, but what's he done in Turkey?
Couldn't tell you.
He's dramatically improved the form in the league.
Listen. If he was making massive waves in Turkey and he was winning trophies, and there was a reason to go and get him other than just his name, then I'd agree with you on that. For everything we've been through,
feel if he was appointed?
I'd just get on with it, but it's not someone I'd be looking for.
It'd be absolutely fascinating, Mourinho.
And I don't want fascinating, mate. I'm sick of fascinating. I want calmness, and
I
haven't
had fascinating since Carlo. I think I'm bored of Dyche ball now. I think Moyes wouldn't be much of a step up.
I know, but
I think Tuchel go into England, sealed that deal, and I think there's not much on offer at the moment.
There is plenty on offer, mate. There's plenty on offer. Absolutely, there's loads of managers
on offer.
He's got
that proven Premier League experience that Mourinho's got.
But he's also done very little for the last couple of years, and I just think that.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think, listen, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. For me personally, he's not the person I'd be looking for to take Everton forward. I think football's changed dramatically in the last 5 years. A lot of players now.
I think it'd be a massive party and everyone's invited.
No, I don't think. I just disagree. I disagree on that. I think a lot of people have seen the way football has changed and want young, youthful managers who just go out and do their job with little fuss. I think Mourinho is just, there's too much baggage, and he'd want players.
Yeah, I understand the baggage, but I think we could get past the baggage because Everton are a blank canvas in terms of what we want to achieve.
But we're not, though, are we? We're not a blank. We're not a blank canvas, though, are we? Because we've got. It's not like, I think we have to get away from this thing of like the Friedkins are going to pour millions of pounds into us. With PSR, you still can't do that.
No,
you've got to be. Look
I
at
think
Newcastle.
In terms of the appointments of the board, for example, like we've been saying for a while that a lot of people on the board need to go.
No, I know, but I don't quite understand what that's got to do with Mourinho. They offer
stability, don't they?
I just think, for me, I just think it's an outlandish thing to do right now with Everton are. That's all I would say. I just think with Everton are right now, I just think it's a little bit.
If that makes sense.
I just think it's a little bit outlandish, and I also think the new owners, when they get in, are going to want something that is a little bit calmer to just see them through. And that's why, as Jack said, they might leave. If Everton's results are if Everton's results are like okay, then they'll leave Dyche in for the rest of the season and just see the season out and get it sorted.
The Dyche ball now, though.
No, I know we all are, but like, football,
it's just grinding out the wins. The wins are just 1-0 wins. We're not playing decent, attractive football, and it's just like.
I know, but that's not going to change with Mourinho. That's not going to change with Mourinho.
Oh, it would. It would.
No, it wouldn't. Mourinho's never been an exciting.
Can get second with the squad they have. Everton can get Champions League at least.
No, they can't. No, now we're talking fantasy now. We're talking fantasy now.
No, we're talking
absolute fantasy now.
I think these have been stuck in the same mojo for too long.
No, we're talking absolute nonsense now. Come on.
No, we're not. I think if Mourinho was coming to Everton, we'd be competing for the Champions League. We'd be smashing Liverpool in the derbies, especially for the first season. It'd be like Bobby Martinez on steroids.
It's
listen. I want what you've been drinking, because you're talking.
It's all very romantic, isn't it? Because Mourinho, the big name coming in, but I just think you've got to be a little bit more realistic in this day and age. And we've seen, haven't we, with trying to do it with Ancelotti, trying to shoot at the top. In this age, this day and age, you need to build long term. That's the recipe for success. And Mourinho is a manager who goes into a top club that's already established and gets the most out of them for 2 years.
Nice one, because we're going to shoot off. Nice one, mate, for coming on.
Nice one.
I like.
Take care. See you later.
Nice one. Listen, I like the cut of his jib. I like the fact that he says Mourinho can come in and get Everton Champions League within the first season. Good stuff. Good stuff. Keep having those dreams. Keep having those dreams. Have the dreams. Stay off the drugs. That's all I'm going to say. Right, this has been Jack's last
Club call
for probably about 3 weeks. He comes back. No, this has been his last club call, so there you go. And it'll be his last shows tomorrow, so make sure you check them out. His last live after...
I could say anything.
Could say anything. Could bring the channel down. Could bring the channel down. Right, there you go. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow after Sean Dyche has done his press conference. Don't forget, head over to More Than a Game channel right now to see Baz talking to the legend that is Agent Eve. It is a fascinating, absolutely fascinating interview. How long is it?
2 hours.
2 hours of fascinating chat where Agent Eve not only talks about Everton, his entire career, ended up in America. Unbelievable man, unbelievable story. Go and check that out right now, and we'll be back tomorrow. See you later.